not allowed to go live on Facebook on the what do we call it, on the company page. So if it's going live on YouTube, or rather Facebook, we have to go live on my own page. So nowadays we just go live on YouTube on Get It Right with Atara Solutions. Right. So apologies for that. So like I was saying, my name is Grace Nzula. I'm an HR consultant and trainer with Atara Solutions, and you're tuned in to Get It Right with Atara Solutions, which is a webinar series that seeks to demystify issues in employment and entrepreneurship. So we do this in partnership with a number of organizations, and allow me to just give a shout out. Because without them, we wouldn't be able to have this. But allow me to also express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who showed up on Saturday for the International Women's Day breakfast. I am telling you, we had so much fun. Catherine, this one you missed out. It was so much. Oh my God, it was for goals. Yani, it's one of those events that you go home and you're like, good job, Nzula. As in, it was really, really, really amazing. And so for everyone who managed to come, thank you very much. For those who couldn't manage to come because for one reason or another, I hope you can show up next. Next up is the road trip. We are planning a road trip out of Nairobi, and I hope that you can make it for that one at least. So we have a number of partners that support us in Get It Right with Atara Solutions, and we have Pathway Solution Services. Pathway Solution Services is a HR and training company. They have trainings on their LMS. LMS is Learning Management System. And they have quite a number of soft skills training and also HR trainings, which you can train yourself and also get a certificate and at the end of it all at discounted rates for you guys from Atara Solutions. Last year and the year before that, he was actually giving a lot of free sessions for you guys. So take advantage of the offers from Atara Solutions. And then we have Profiles International. Profiles International are the people. They also offer, they're the only people who offer GNOS certified emotional intelligence coaches. So if you want to become an emotional intelligence coach, then Profiles International are the people for you. We have Start Discover. Start Discover is an insurance company. We're actually hosting them next week on Tuesday, where they're going to teach us how to negotiate for insurance, or rather what to look for when you're shopping for an insurance company for your organizations or for yourself. What do you really want to look at? That's the topic we're covering next Tuesday. We also have Elsamere. Elsamere is a hotel, or rather a lodge located in Naivasha. It is so beautiful. It's outside the lake. It has a lot of history. Elsa was a lion. They have a museum. They have one of the best cookies I have ever tasted. Their tea is always there, and then they also have very, very nice food. If you want to take a vacation, solocation, then you need to visit Elsamere. We have Ndovu. Ndovu is an investment company. They were here with us and they taught us how to invest in dollars. We have Steadfast Quality Solutions. Steadfast Quality Solutions is a PR and HR company located in Kampala, Uganda. If you're looking for HR services in Kampala or Uganda, then Steadfast Quality Solutions are your people. They also do trainings as well. And this is run by my good friend Herbert Zake. Thank you very much, Herbert Zake, for your partnership. Thank you very much for actually sharing our flyers across Uganda and across the world. We really, really appreciate your input. And then we have Nilefront Cottages. Nilefront Cottages are located in Jinja, in Uganda. Jinja is about 2 hours from Busia border. It is one of the most beautiful cottages that I've been to. They are located just at the what? In front of, or what do we call it? The right English, I can't remember. Just next to the lake, Lake Victoria, where Lake Victoria meets River Nile. The views are out of this world. The sunset or sunrise from that place is just amazing. I was there in December, and my good friend, it is, oh my God, you just need to visit. And don't just say that you cannot afford a flight. You can drive or take a bus to Jinja, and then you can just get to Nilefront. They are beautiful, beautiful. And then we have Wicklin. Wicklin are carpet cleaning and They are cleaning company. They clean your sofas and carpets, and they also clean your house. If you want deep cleaning for your houses, if you want your sofas to be cleaned, it is very sunny right now, so I'm sure your sofas will not take forever to dry. They also have carpet cleaning, where they come to your house, pick up your carpet, and then bring it back. And you don't have to worry about who is going to lift your sofas. They will actually come lift, take out the carpet, and then bring it back and make sure that it's back to its place. And then we have Panessa Training Institute, and we have Kapula Mintito, Essence Park, among others. So thank you very much, guys, for your partnership. And then we are going to Rwanda, and I hope you guys can come with me next week. Is it next week? Yeah, it's actually next week. From this, the conversation starts, or rather, the conference starts from 19th to 22nd of March, and we will be at the M Hotel. So if you're here from Rwanda or you're interested in attending this, please get in touch with me. Let's go explore and learn from other African leaders. As you can see, we have quite a number of different organizations that will be there. And this is going to be a game changer for us as East Africans and also as Africans. You can see there are people from Zambia, there are people from Rwanda, myself from Kenya, among others. So this is going to be an awesome, awesome conversation happening next week in Rwanda. And I hope that you guys can come along. All right, so that's enough on that. So Tom, you want us to do a road trip to UG? Yes, we shall do a road trip to UG. Do not worry. These things, I believe in the world of possibilities. So definitely, or the Ugandans can do a road trip here. Andrew Kawesa, I hope you can hear me. Because that would be you being the contact person from Uganda to bring people to Nairobi, Kenya. Or we can just meet somewhere in Ginger and just enjoy, you know? Right, so with us this evening is Martin Ocholi. Martin Ocholi is a voice coach. He actually teaches you how to balance your voice. He's actually the first person who made me realize that it is more than what you say, it is also how you say it. It's your tone. It's also how you pace your voice. It's how you pace whatever it is you're saying. And of course, before we get there, Catherine, where have you gone? I've not introduced you. We'll have our sign language interpreter, Catherine Sidandi. Probably, I don't know, maybe technology is doing a number on her. But Catherine Sidandi is our sign language interpreter. She helps us be inclusive. So if you know someone who would benefit from this and they have hearing impairment, they can always please encourage them to join. Catherine Sidandi makes sure that we do not leave anyone behind. So thank you very much, Catherine Sidandi. And if you have an event and you're looking for sign language interpreters, please get in touch with Catherine. She is amazing at what she does. Right, so with us this evening is Martin Ocholi. Martin Ocholi is a voice coach. He runs a company called VODS. He will tell us more about that. He will also tell us more about voices. So take it away, Martin.
Thank you very much, Grace, for that introduction. And thank you very much for giving me this chance to share these few pointers on the voice. I'm so passionate about the voice that if it was a religion, I could be the bishop or the pope or the voice. Yes, I run a company called VODS, and VODS is really an acronym for Voice Development for Effective Speaking. So you can see how interested I'm in the voice, to the point that even what I'm doing is really, the company is just a whole mouthful about the voice. We do other things, but I think the flagship of what we do is the voice. So today I really want to share with you a few things about the voice. I don't know if I don't see my presentation, Grace.
Yeah, you can share it again. I removed it because I needed to share my screen.
Oh, okay. I hope it didn't feel slighted. Can you see it?
No, not yet. Probably it's loading. Just go to share screen again.
Okay.
Share screen.
Now, okay, here I am. Share screen is green. And
yes.
Here, Jeez.
There we
And
go.
full
Then you put on
presentation.
presentation mode. Yes.
Presentation mode. Okay. Are we good?
Yes, we are.
Oh, thank you very much. So, public speaking, does your voice matter? We grappled this phrasing this topic, but all the same, what we're trying to do is, does your voice matter? There's been a myth that many people think the voice, or we have what we call born speakers, or God, during the distribution of voices, favored some people and did not favor others. And to me, that's just a myth. If you're born without any congenital defects, if you're born in what we call normal, the normal development, and you had that vegetas, that cry at birth, then you all have a beautiful voice, because I've never had a baby's cry that was not pleasant. We all start from that with that beautiful sound, and then we will see what then happens along the way. Why do some people stand out to become what we call great speakers, great sounding voices? So if you allow me, I think I have a few minutes, so I'll briefly start introducing what really happens, what the voice is all about, and look at the more, it connects us with people in everyday life. A child is born, cries, and everybody is connected. Everyone really comes across together to witness this new life. So we announce our entry into this world using the voice. And for the first part of the 6 months or 7, 8 months, until we acquire some recognizable speech, it's just the tone, the pitch of our voice. And any mother can tell you when to worry when they hear a child cry, when not to worry, when to give them, to put them to sleep, when to change them, because we survive on the different tones. And I think that's what we all respond to when we are in our mother's wombs. That's what we hear, the pitch and the tone of the mother. There are many studies that have been done to that. So a human being is designed to respond to tone and pitch. Now, to tone and pitch. That's why little kids respond to beautiful music. And we all, whatever language it is, we all respond to sounds that we call pleasant. In communication, you'll find we speak our words, we'll connect, we'll have the message. But there's also that other aspect that is an emotional aspect to every spoken word. And that our voice, the sound of our voice, creates that emotional bridge. It connects us to our audiences and the people around us emotionally. Therefore, an efficient and responsive voice is a voice that is accurate to your intentions. Now we'll see what we mean by that. When we say accurate to your intentions, have you ever told somebody something and they tell you, why are you yelling at me? Or why do you look sad? Say, I don't look sad. I'm not sad. No, but you sound sad. That means that your voice is not representing you accurately. Your voice is not true to who you are at that particular moment. And we'll see, or your voice is not true to that context. So when you say voice for your true voice, what we try to do, we work with the clients to help them get what we call a true voice. And to start off, I'd like to go to a small statistics. A study was done at UCLA in around 1967 by this professor is now about 84 years old, Albert Merhabian. So I call it the Merhabian statistic. And this is an answer to that question, does your voice matter? And he did a study where he came up to, brought up this kind of statistic and said when we communicate, 7% of what our content accounts for only 7% of how people perceive us. 38% is determined by the sound of our voice, and 55% in non-verbal communication, other non-NVCs, as we would call them in communication jargon, which means, are you bald-headed like I am? Or are you bespectacled? Are you dark-skinned? Are you tall? Are you short? Are you slim? Or what is your complexion? And so many other factors that come in. That accounts for 55%. And this also means the impression we make about people, you can distribute it. That people think, okay, they see 55, okay, he's in a blue shirt, I like blue shirts, or he's not wearing a tie, I don't like that, or so and so and so forth. So we have biases there. Then 7% is the content. Oh, he knows his stuff or she knows her stuff. But 38% is the sound of our voice. So can you imagine if you start by speaking and people don't like the sound of your voice, what happens? They shut off. Already you are like going into an exam and the examiner deducts 38% from you and then leaves you with that 62%. And when you think about the 55%, because of those biases I mentioned earlier on, you will never get the 55 out of 55. Neither would you get 0 out of 55. So there is something in between there. But if they like the sound of your voice, you're already starting at 38% an advantage. I know in this place there are so many HR people. I would like to know, what do they think when they're hiring people? Does the sound of the voice matter? So you can see, based on this, is that how we sound tends to be more important than we just imagine, that many people realize. And we just think, you know, your staff, say it, stand up, and go on, people will take it. And you know, the mind is a very treacherous organ. If we don't like what we hear, we just shut off. We'll be there blank, but we shut off. We start making our own trips to wherever we want. We start making our own plans. And it can be so frustrating when you speak into an audience that doesn't really find meaning in what you're saying, simply because they have shut you out. And it doesn't matter what you're saying. You can start from churches, you go to church, someone preaching about heaven and people doing other things, simply because the voice that is coming out from the public address system is just unbearable, the sound. And we've seen this. Someone could be singing about love, but no one wants to buy that song, you know, like that melody we were listening to just before we started this. That was so beautiful. But how many people have been told, have said, I love you just the way you are? So many. The word love has been used so many times, but that word, depending on the sound of your voice, can be the most horrible sound that you ever hear. So it's really important. So what factors really determine how we sound? As I said, we're all born with the same ability to speak based on that vegetas, that cry we have as babies. So we have 4 factors. We are born into a home state. So the first thing is the environment in which we grow. Then the second bit is a perception of sound. How well do we hear sound? Then the third is the physical agility of our organs of articulation, and then our own personalities. And I'll explain a little bit that much. So when I talk about the environment, then I'm looking at that. You can see one here is a heart, which are becoming extinct, our version of affordable. And here you can see normally it's a rural setting, and this is an urban setting. A child here, you find you're hearing the same thing, people perhaps listening to the same language, you find the same tone, and because we acquire speech through imitation, we start speaking according to the environment that surrounds us. So that comes to the language or the signals that we use or the sounds that we hear, because language is just organized sounds that have been given some meanings. So that pattern, the tone that you use, so you wonder, why do some people sound so high-pitched or so loud? Why do some people speak so slowly? Because there are these people that we imitate, we mirror them, and before you realize, you are speaking or sounding like those people that you spend a lot of time with. And that's how we acquire our speech like children, as children rather. The language that we speak, the vocabulary that we have, the tone that we use. Then the second thing that we have is how well our hearing is. Because since we learn from imitation, you can see why there's a connection. People who have a hearing defect cannot develop this speech because they don't know what to imitate. They can't hear, they can't make it out, but they can produce sound by the vocal cord action. But that is never transformed into recognizable speech simply because of the problem of hearing. Then some people have very good hearing. They can hear sound very clearly, even certain notes and tones that other people cannot perceive. And therefore, since they can hear that, they can reproduce those tones very easily. And you can see why some people are gifted doing accents and so on. Some people pick up languages very quickly because of the clarity of hearing. And of course, that is quite connected with the ability to reproduce what we hear accurately. Then the physical agility. This is the movement of the organs that we use to produce sound, organs of articulation. The most important one is the tongue. Then you have the jaw has to move. How flexible is it? Are we willing to move it to produce sound or to produce speech? If it's a difficult word, are you able to pronounce that word or to form that word? And you'll see this also is affected by other issues about our emotional state, the sense of confidence that we have. I saw one time we were learning a foreign language, and when we had to do exams orally in that language, there were two things that used to happen. When you are well read, the language would flow. When we had not studied and the subject matter was hazy, the language would fly out and you could hardly open your mouth to articulate. A simple reason is because you're afraid that what you're going to say is not correct, and therefore you don't apply the required pressure or effort to move your muscles to form that sound that you already in your mind have told yourself is wrong. So the physical agility, if you speak more, you are able to manipulate and move your organs of articulation to produce speech. Then, of course, personality. We all have our own temperaments. We all have our own reactions to the environment that we live in. So how we interpret those experiences somehow will determine and help us get our own interpretation of our own voice. This is my unique sound. Or how easy do I get stuff? If I ask mommy for a piece of cake Does she give it to me freely? Or do I have to whine? And when I whine, do I get the results? So you can see some people have formed a pattern, because we use sound and the speech to fulfill our needs. So a child, if you have a child and they keep whining and you keep rewarding them, then you have a reason why we have grown-ups my age who keep whining. I'm sure each one of us has come across a grown-up who will be whining and speaking in that complaining tone or begging or manipulative pitch. So it starts really early. Or there are people whose personality, the experience was not so good, they're aloof, they don't want to speak so much, they don't want to connect. You'll find that they don't become very effective speakers because speech is an athletic endeavor. They don't practice so much that the less you use it, the more you lose it. So if you don't use it, you lose it. So those are the factors, the 4 factors that affect our speech. And I just wanted us to understand where it all comes from, okay? So what we need to note is that one of the things that the voice is quite sensitive to the environment. If you go to a place where people are excited, definitely you get excited. If you go places where people are dull, you'll find we almost try to adapt to that environment. And that's why sometimes you're told, do not speak in a loud place because you'll try to compete with the sound and you may just end up damaging your vocal cords. Then you can see that the conditions that we have of life condition the speech. Where you live, condition the speech. Now, it's very interesting. Have you ever wondered why some people, just if you're in Nairobi, certain neighborhoods speak in a certain way and in a certain tone? You'll hear the guys from Westlands have a certain tone, the people from the Eastlands, they have a certain tone. And it's been, who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? How do they speak? Who do you admire? And then it becomes something like Maze, that kind of thing. If this guy moves to Lavington after a while, he becomes something totally different. The Maze disappears. Even if he's speaking English, it will disappear because we keep on mirroring, and we were not born with a speech programmed into us. We learn, we acquire, we adopt. That's why when you finally send me to the US for 2 days and I come back and say, you know what I'm saying, because everybody around me is saying, you know what I'm saying, I want water and that kind of thing. If I say water, I'll die of thirst. So I'm forced to say water, 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 and that's how we keep on evolving. Malleable. So one of the things, again, voice will be interpreted, the sound of our voices will be interpreted based on the context. Remember the context, where are you? How do those people speak? How do you sound? So you can improve the way you sound. And one thing that we all should know is that the image that we have of our voice could be misleading. Many people, if you haven't recorded your voice on a gadget and played it back to yourself, then it's not what you think it is. You hear it in a distorted form, distorted by the bones in your skeleton, and yet you know exactly what you're saying. So if someone tells you you're not clear, you wonder what they are saying because you think you're clear, you think you're loud enough, or sometimes you don't know that you're loud until someone tells you. Think about it. Have you ever tried gossiping about somebody and you think you're speaking in hushed tones and they say, what are you saying about me? So we hardly know our voice. So what can we do? Very quickly, we need to understand our voice so that we can improve it. And I just thought I would just throw in a few tips there that we can use to improve our voices very, very quickly, and the things that matter. And I'm calling that the mechanics of the voice. So one of the main points is that one, speech is learned. So like any athletic endeavor, we can improve it. And since it is athletic, we have to practice, and we do exercises, specific exercises that help us to put our organs of articulation into the right state so that they can produce a sound that we require them to produce, and we can have the power. And you see that when you start developing that exercises, you start developing an awareness of your own voice, an awareness of your own attitude to talking in public, because so many other things just unfold. Now, I always ask people, where does the voice come from? Usually, if it's an interactive class, I would have said, where does the voice come from? And I've heard very interesting answers. One, oh, it comes from the stomach. Where? Maybe it comes from the mind. Where? Maybe it comes from here. But very few people connect breathing with voice production. So perhaps when they're told, if you have been in a choir, sing from the belly, they think, okay, that's where the voice is stored. So very quickly, we can say voice production is connected with breathing. Breath is the raw material, is the most motive force behind the voice. So the air that we breathe is the one that is obstructed on its way out by the larynx. I'll show a diagram of that, and causes them to vibrate, and through resonance, we have this sound that we call the voice. So one way of improving the quality of our voice, first of all, is to start very quickly developing a habit of deep abdominal breathing. Enough air, because breathing, shallow breathing, is like trying to speak without a voice. It's like trying to cook ugali without the flour. You cannot. You need air, a lot of air, so that it can act on your vocal cords when they're in their natural positions. Number two, a relaxed body needs to amplify. So the body needs resonance, and a relaxed body is a good resonator. So breathing helps in relaxation, and a relaxed body helps in giving a nice tone to the voices that we produce. So very quickly, you'll see this is what happens when we inhale. What happens, the chest muscles go out, we are filling our lungs with air, and the most important aspect of this muscle here is the diaphragm. It goes down. So if you want to know that you're breathing well, put your hands below your rib cage and inhale, and you should feel an outward expansion. Then you know you're breathing well. If you have an extra protection on your belly like I do, then you should see it coming forward, protruding. That you know you're breathing well. I know there are people who get conflicted, like athletes, who have to breathe into the upper chest very quickly, but they need very quick supply of oxygen. But you can see what happens when they want to speak after running. We all know what they can hardly speak. So if you want to have a good, clear, well sounding voice, unrestricted, then you must develop a habit of good breathing. Now, phonation is a process by which we form the voice. And if you look at these two pictures here, is what we have in our vocal cords, in the larynx. And this is our vocal cords open, when they call them adducted. So Like if I were to exhale, no vocal cord vibration. But here, when I decide, because that's what God allows us to do, the vocal cords proximate or they adduct, they close, and the air has to pile up here, the air pressure. When I decide to phonate, then it forces them to open and shut at a high speed, producing a sound. So if you can see me with me, just put your lips together and try, block them, and then push the air out. That's what happens to the vocal cords. But the tissue of the vocal cords is very fine, so the frequency is higher and the resultant sound is also high. So all that air that comes out comes to the pharynx. Below the larynx is just air coming from the lungs through the trachea. And then around here, after the larynx, and you're phonating, that air is vibrating here. And when it vibrates up to here to the pharynx, there's that tissue that acts like an amplified, vibrates, producing that sound by the process called resonance. And that's how we get that sound. Now, that resonating sound can be any language. Every community does that, every language. But we need to give it a certain shape that is identifiable based on whatever context or the environment that we live in. And that's a process that we call articulation. We are forming words from that air that is like that sound that has been resonated by those organs of articulation. So when we use the tongue, we have the teeth, we have the lips, we have the soft and hard palate. We call these organs of articulation. And you will see, depending on where you position them, they produce certain specific sounds. So in the sounds, we have two main sounds. We have the open sounds and obstructed sounds. So either we call them as consonants and vowel sounds. Vowel sounds seem to be universal. I think in every language that I know, they all have I, O, they take a lot of air. And the consonants are obstructed. In other words, the flow of air, two organs of articulation come together, obstruct the air, and release them or cause a certain sound, depending on the organs involved and where they are. For instance, if I were to produce a sound using my lips, you see, they block that sound, and that's just air. Now, if I want to voice it, I would engage my vocal cords and bo, bo, bo. So I will try to give that formula to my clans people who cannot differentiate between bo and bo. So it will be pa and pa. So one is voiced, one is unvoiced. Okay, so one, it means involves the vocal cords, and the other one does not, is just air. So when we think about the consonants in speech, they act like the mortar. Watomajengo, if you're putting up a wall, you're putting up the bricks, you need something to bind the bricks together. So the strength of this wall is determined by the quality of the binding substance that you're using, which is the mortar. So equally, your level of the strength of your speech is determined by how crisp and clear your consonants are. So there's a difference between big and big. There's a difference between today and today. There's a difference between go and go. A weak consonant shows timidity. A strong consonant, clear consonant shows confidence. And if you believe in what you're saying, then you apply, if you go back to what I said earlier, you apply all the necessary strength to produce that sound clearly and distinctly. So that's one thing that the consonants do. The other things that they show, they determine the beginning and the ends of the word. And you can see my wall here. You can see where this block begins and where it ends and where the other one ends. So consonants are really important, and they really try to make our speech clear. There are people who have a challenge with bringing out the consonants clearly, and they suffer from what we call slurring, or they drop ends of the words. You don't know where the one word ends and where the other one begins. Then on the other hand, vowels are the blocks, but unlike consonants, vowels are open sounds. They have sound. We call them building blocks because they are the sonorous part of our speech. As opposed to you can imagine speaking without vowels. That would not be sound. So when you want to speak, you make sure you have very well-shaped vowels, proper length, and they require a lot of air. So that connects back to our breathing. And finally, so now you are producing that sound and you're speaking. What makes a speech, one speech speaker stand out from the other? It is something that we call expressiveness. Expressiveness. And how do we become expressive? I use this word saying we add color, we add music to your voice. So how do we do that? There are so many ways. There are pauses, there are tonal variation, there's volume, there's speech, there's emotion, there's feeling. And this answers that question of how we say it. Why is expressiveness important? Because you can imagine each one of us here knows what it means or how painful it is to listen to a monotonous speaker, one droning on and on without varying their tone. So when you speak in a monotone, you show lack of interest. How are you, John? Fine, I'm just fine. We are there. It is okay. How long can you sit with such a person? Yeah, you'd willingly volunteer to go to committee for 3 months if that's the other option. It shows you're not interested in the audience, or you're not interested in the message that you are delivering. It shows that you're not prepared. You do not think about it. You are not even looking forward to that speaking occasion. They just found you going somewhere and someone drugged you. And it shows also indifference. And people and audiences, when they give you their attention, they want to feel like you respect their time. These are things that people don't say, but that's what they feel. You listen to someone, that guy wasted my time. Hakuna kitu ameniambia. Maybe that person spoke a lot of sensible things, but the way they sounded, they were not part of that. And they gave you that connection, because remember, the voice is a bridge, is an emotional connection. And the emotion can be excitement, it can be a dull one. Either way, it's contagious. And that's why people don't like people who don't sound very, very good, or who don't sound present. So how can we do that? There are so many different ways. Exploit the elements of sound effectively to get that. Use the pitch. When we talk about pitch, is the thickness or the thinness of your voice. We have 3 levels there: low, the mid, and high. In whatever way, try to bring them appropriately. If, for instance, you have seen somebody and you are happy to see them and you have a voice that is of my pitch, I need just to elevate to show excitement. Hi, how are you? As opposed to, hi, how are you? That will kill you. So varying the pitch. Volume, there are situations where, yes, you need to speak loud and you need to be quiet. So, and especially when you're speaking and describing situations, the music was loud. I found the house was extremely quiet. Intonation, I think the upward, downward inflection of the voice, it's really important to speak with that varying. And then, of course, the pace. There are some situations where you need to speed up, and there are situations where you need to slow down. And pauses as well. Yeah, don't suffocate your listener because you have all these great things to say. Allow them to breathe. Allow them to digest what you're saying. Allow them to think about it. Allow them to anticipate or to expect what you're going to say next. Those are some of the things that you need to do to become a good speaker. And finally, of course, when we say the voice transmits emotion, then we need to control the timbre. And that's when we think about the emotional characteristics of the voice. If you want to, what is that emotion? What is your attitude behind what you say? Are you connected to what you say? And those, if I were to go back to all those elements of public speaking, there's the ethos, the pathos, and logos. So in this case, I think we are talking about the pathos. Are you feeling? Yeah. Are you emotionally connected with the audience? What is the attitude of what you say? Let's go home. You look at me. The attitude I say with it will determine whether you're coming or going. Come for lunch. You listen to not the come for lunch, but how do I sound when I'm saying come for lunch? And you think like, no, this is just a formality. Did you mean it? So remember, you will be judged more by what you, by how you sound than what you say. I'm trying to remain within 25 minutes, so it's a lot that you can say, and and I think let me stop there and allow for some breather.
Martin, you have taken more than 25 minutes.
Oh, my watch tells me it's 25, sorry. But I hope it was worth it.
Yes. There's a question here. How can one do away with phobia of public speaking?
Phobia of public speaking arises from so many things. You need to understand what it is. First, one is that you have to prepare. There are three things that I always say. In order for you to speak, there must be that desire. You want to speak, so ask yourself, do I want to? And if I'm afraid, why? And usually the why, you'll find that you haven't done the second thing. You don't know what you should speak about. And if you do speak about, if you know what you want to speak about, perhaps there's one thing that you haven't done. You haven't put it in your mind that you can do it. It becomes a question of mindset. You have told yourself, no, this is difficult. I can't do it. So you need to give yourself that pep talk. I can. And then number 4, you need to practice. Practice. So you have the desire to speak, know what you want to say thoroughly, because you should have what we call the right to speak about. You've earned the right to speak about what you want to speak about. You've either studied, you're prepared, and you have, as a sign of respect to yourself and your audience, you are prepared. So it takes away already that fear. And then the third, you've practiced for that. I mean, you've told yourself you believe in it, you believe you can do it, you believe in yourself. And then the fourth part is that you will prepare. And then, of course, let me disappoint the call. You will never find a time when you are completely out of that fear. I know, I don't know whether you talk about fear, but there's a certain level of excitement that any speaker worth the time experiences in about the first few seconds. It's exciting. I want to do this. So that excitement, you can label it as fear, or you can tell yourself, no, this is so nice, this is so exciting. But it's a feeling that you feel, we call it majani, you feel like you have some leaves in your chest. But how the label you give to those leaves determines. But the biggest antidote to phobia is preparation, preparation, and preparation, and practice. I know, I mean, it's a habit that people just assume, but before you speak, you need to prepare for it. Otherwise, you will surprise yourself by not doing a very good job. So practice, practice, practice. It will build confidence. It will build confidence.
All right. James says, how can we apply our articulation, or rather our voices, when talking to older people versus younger ones?
Well, that depends on, it's really contextual. There are some older people who are upbeat, who are, how do I say it? Who can bring themselves down to the level of young people. So it is really a question of judgment. And what is the context? What is appropriate in this context? Who is this older person? Even some young people also don't like to be talked to in a certain way. So I think as a speaker, it's just important to know who your audience is, and based on that, use a tone that you believe is appropriate within that given context. That's an answer that I would give, because you may find some old people who are hip, and you may find some people who are still young who think they are very old, and they want you to refer to them in a certain different way. So it is up to you to make that judgment call by looking at the context. And the context means who is involved in that particular person and exactly where is that speech is taking place.
All right. And then how can we pause naturally in a conversation without the person we are talking to thinking we have made our point and are done talking?
Wow! That's a difficult question, honestly. But I think it depends again, really, how can we determine the other person? Because it depends on how your talking style. Do they know you? This is a place where if they know you, or how long is that pause? Are you pausing for 5 minutes? Are you pausing because pauses are really about a fraction of a second. I want to go home. Then when I get there, this is what I'm going to do. So I can't, unless you're pausing to listen to the other person, you cannot really determine. And it's really context-based, and that person really must understand your speaking style, because we can't really know that if I pause now, they'll think I've finished talking. It means I've paused for very long. But if you have that, what we call a standard, a few seconds, I think the people will understand you. And you will see, I know there are people who are slow speakers, they are reserved in their own way. They will speak and you have to wait and he hasn't finished. I went home and I found this and that. So it depends really, that person, how do they know you?
There's an interesting question. Oh yeah, on the pause, I agree with Martin on the time it takes. I mean, a pause is like putting a comma in your sentence. So it's practicing how to use a comma and how to use a full stop. Because if you use a full stop, then it means the other person is ready or there's a new sentence coming. But if you use a comma, it means you're pausing and then you're continuing with that conversation. So I think you need to practice the use of a comma and the use of a full stop in your sentences. That way, then, like Martin has said, the context as well, then there's a bit of a flow. But Tom Magumba has said, Martin, I will be speaking in a week's time to 80 people. How do I practice for this? And I'm laughing because my first conference of 500, actually, we were expecting 500, they ended up being 700. I was a bit anxious. So yes, you can go ahead and answer that.
Okay, I know the sheer mention of numbers is something that people fear. And if I remember my physics, which I did, well, I know we did something called physics, and I think there was an electric circuit. Those physicists who are here can tell me there's one which is in series, and the other one which is, I think, is in parallel. One is stronger than the other now. You can see that's why I'm not a physicist, but I remember there was one. It doesn't matter how many people you are addressing. Remember that each person listens to you as an individual. Their ears are not connected. So whether you're speaking to 5 people or you're speaking to 80 people, just address an individual that you can identify. One, that will help you modulate your voice. Because the moment you think, oh, these are many people, what is the natural thing to do? There are many people, I have to shout. But remember that at any given time, if I'm in that audience, I'm listening to you alone. I'm hearing you alone. And whatever you're throwing out is falling on different ears at the same time, but individually. So think about that. Prepare what you should do. Just prepare your message very well, whether it's your talk, know it inside out. Prepare. You have 1 week, know your stuff well, read it over, think about it. And I know many speakers practice in silence. Here you have a prepared material, you have slides, and you're looking at them, you know them, but you are looking at them inside. The mathematics of this and that, the physics of this, the economics of scale, but speak it out. Talk, hear your voice, record yourself, and listen to your tone. Just read. If there are slides, read, talk about them, talk over them. So get used to that, because what happens, supposing you're speaking and the slides jumble up, you get lost. So you need to already know that if you're at 80 people, you'll have a microphone. So of course, don't worry about yelling forever. The microphone will be there to help you reach everyone. Just make sure that your voice is moderate, is audible, and is full of life. But practice audibly. And remember that it doesn't matter, 80 people is just one person times 80 times. The same person listening to you, and each person listens to you in their own accord. If you think about it that way, then that terror of numbers will subside. Because yes, numbers can be intimidating. Numbers can be intimidating. But if you think about it, it's just one person listening to you. Yeah.
I'm laughing. What makes a content, or rather, words disappear as much as you want to speak, and you lack ways to approach the speech?
Again, I think I need to go back to what makes a content disappear, words disappear, lack of.
I think it's anxiety.
As anxiety, and as we talked around it, what causes anxiety? Those factors that I said. One, you're not prepared. And you see, if you're not prepared, you're not prepared. You know your stuff, and then you need to prepare yourself mentally. If you give yourself the wrong messages, then you're going to. There's something that is called anticipation. Visualize yourself succeeding, because what you think about is what will come. If you're thinking so much of not blundering, you will definitely blunder. But if you see yourself, visualize yourself doing it perfectly, you will do it okay. And then don't think so much about the audience. Know the audience, know who they are, but think about what you're giving to the audience. That should be your main focus. Oh, these are important people. I have to prepare, I have these interesting stories, let me give it to them. And give that story. If they see that you're enjoying giving that story, giving that talk, they will also enjoy it with you. And of course, when you see them enjoying and responding, you'll get energized. You get energized. And always, I've seen from my experience in an audience, you'll always find a few friendly faces who are I call them noddies. Whatever you're saying, they keep nodding. They focus on those. They are very good in powering you up and getting rid of that nervousness that you may have. And the moment you say something and you see someone acknowledge, I think that powers you up. But there is no substitute to preparation. I repeat that. No substitute to that.
I totally agree with you. And so there's the use of and the joiners. So your comment on that, and how do you continue speaking when you notice people are on their finest or dozing? And Karambuthia, Martin trains people on public speaking. So do I, and so does Richard Magoma. So you can reach out to any of us, and Martin will be sharing his contact details. But yes, Martin, the use of and also how do you continue speaking when you notice people are on their finest or on their phones or dozing?
Okay, number one, many people don't realize that that's a speech defect. You can see, I've just said, okay, like Barack Obama today. Now, they're called fillers, and some people have called them fillers. Some people have called them verbal viruses, and others have called them non-words. These are words that usually are good, or sounds that are best avoided because they mean nothing. They show lack of focus. But of course, you can never completely get rid of them, especially if you're not using a written speech. There's a certain degree of that that will slip in, but it should not stick out like a sore thumb, as the saying goes. So, but you can practice. Think before you speak. If you know you are keep quiet, don't speak unless you have formulated what you want to say and then release it. Try pauses instead of because they're filling up in between your ideas, and sometimes they become noises in the channel. Now, if you're speaking and people are on their phones, two things: either you're you're telling the wrong message, or you have lost what they're interested in. What you're saying is irrelevant, and you can change tact. Usually, vary your tone. Sometimes just pause and see what happens. Or shoot a question to one of those people who is on the phone. Crack a joke, others will laugh, and those ones on the phone will wonder why they've been left out on the. But generally, you will never have sometimes 100%. If 75% of the people on the phones, then you do the honorable thing and wind up your speech. If just one or two or three or a small fraction, focus on those who are listening to you and serve and honor the attention that they're giving to you. That's what I would say.
Right. I think we can. Today, these people are hilarious. I think we have to do a public speaking something. Does it, Jeff Jefferson is saying, does it occur to you that ladies speak better than men? This is his observation. What is your thought? I kind of disagree, but Martin, maybe you have the statistics.
Well, it's I will tell you my observation. I think more than 60% of people that I have trained are ladies. Ladies tend to want to learn. So what happens is that most ladies, unless they are really sure of what they say, they don't want to present themselves in the public. So you'll find that most of the ladies that you encounter have already done something about how they sound. And generally, you'll find, I think, ladies are better gifted anyway in language and speech than men. That one we can't fight it. I notice I have a daughter and a son, and I see the daughter before she was a year, she was speaking. She could already utter some words, and you'll see the boys 1 year or 1 year past is when we start acquiring more speech. Look at any situation where you can never win a speaking contest against a lady. So generally, they're gifted more, they have got more eloquence. But I think in these situations, what I would say is that I find ladies more willing to learn and to ask for direction than we men. Men, you'll find that a man wants to get training the day before an interview. Yet a lady will say, I have an interview in 3 months, and she wants to practice today. And it's all about that effort, self-awareness, and knowing exactly where your weakness is and asking for assistance. That's what I've seen. So I haven't done any study, but from my general observation and looking at my statistics and the people I've dealt with, I think more than 60% that of the clients that I've dealt with are always ladies, and they do well and they complete their work. You'll see the men who come, a few of them who come, they know really they need it. And most of them will tell you, yes, I suffered. I went to a board meeting and I was presenting and everyone fell asleep. Or I went to a board meeting, I was presenting this, and there were these young people who are giggling and repeating about my mimicking my misarticulation and things like that. And you can see women, just like we don't seek medical aid, there's so many things we don't do. We don't ask for directions until we are lost. We know these things. Yeah. But I like to see those studies in terms of which gender. But in the case where I can say that based on what I've seen is that ladies tend to look for that assistance in good time. And then they don't like embarrassments. So they'd rather keep quiet so that those who speak are already prepared. So you start noticing that, oh, ladies speak better than men. Men, we just open our mouths and go. Aibu badai, you know, that's a difference.
All right. And then there was another question. What happens when you speak to your mind it's fluent. But when you speak to public or people, fluency disappears.
Again, it's just a matter of getting used to it. I will just repeat that. One thing I've noticed, especially when I work with clients, you start, maybe you're doing 20 hours. And by the 10th hour or the 10th session, they are so frustrated. They see they have come this far and nothing seems to be working. And you feel like you want to give up. And that is when just before you give up, that's when one day you wake up and that fear has gone. Then one day you wake up, you speak and you realize, oh, I spoke so well and people cheered. Speech or voice training is about process. It's a process. And it's a process so that you keep on practicing and one day it will happen. I'm avoiding to use the word boom, but you realize, oh, I did it. It's a process. It is not like, oh, tomorrow I am going to train 5 times. And then you go, yes, I trained. Not require asking yourself, how did I do it? So it is much more of how did I do it than I did it. So if I tell you train every morning, and yeah, you just say, okay, you read through and say, the coach said, read every morning for 10 minutes. Ask yourself, how did I do it? What am I trying to overcome? What am I trying to deal with? Am I dealing with my pace? Am I dealing with my articulation? Am I dealing with pitch variation? Am I telling myself, not all those things? It is a process. And every time you should ask yourself, what have I done today? How have I done it? And we are living in a good time where now this gadget is so simple. Everyone has a phone that has a recorder. Read aloud, record yourself, play back. Read aloud, record yourself, play back. 2 days later, you will listen and don't delete that. You start noticing you will know whether you're making progress. There are certain words that you cannot wrap your tongue around them. Try to practice those words several times, and over time you realize, oh, I said metamorphosis. Oh, it's so simple, yeah? But unless you do it, it will be, yes, in your mind, it's perfect. In practice, it's disastrous.
That's correct. And the final question for tonight, does the accent matter for public speech? Sometimes the people are judged on their accent. So what is your thoughts on the accent, Martin?
I think there's a short video that I did. My take on the accent is it doesn't matter. What matters is the audience and the clarity of what you're saying. For instance, English, let's say we're using the English language today. The majority of a Kenyan audience have a certain tone and certain ring to how we speak. And remember, speech determines. We need way to remember my Mazejo, Buddha, Niaje. If you're in Lavington, and then somebody's thinking, no, if you're in Karen, we'll see where to. And if you go to Jericho, Makongeni, and you're saying, hey, you guys, how are you doing? We're in Nani, Niba. They use the word Babi, Sindio. Accent differentiates who is this person, who in way to amasio way to. But let's put that aside. In speaking situations, if your accent does not obscure or distort the meaning of what you're saying, it doesn't matter. The problem is if your accent is distorting what you're saying, distorts the meaning. And it always happens with the process of articulation. I think this is what people are talking about accent usually, is the production of the consonants, where somebody For example, my clans people, ukisema huyu ni papa yangu, now they can't, papa, and then they say hapa, papa, hapa. So they don't know how to say ba, that sound, ba. So you're wondering if he's spoken to someone in Mombasa, they'll think you're thinking about papa. Oh, samaki fulani anaitwa papa. Now, there, sort yourself out. If you are substituting, let's say we have the P and F, we know people with that problem. We have people with the substituting L and R, we have that problem. We have people substituting D and T, we have that problem. So if that is where you are, please try to make it distinct. But if your message and whatever you're saying is not distorted, and anyone who speaks that language that you're using can understand you, then accent, what is it? I mean, accent tends to, in fact, I find certain accents are disturbing because based on the majority of the audience. For instance, if you're speaking to a Kenyan audience and you're a Kenyan, they don't expect an American accent unless they have a backstory. Perhaps you grew up in America and that's how you are used to speaking. But you realize when you stay in a place, after a while, you'll acquire the local accent. If you went to the US, you'll acquire the US accent. Because of that, you want to belong. But still, if you're speaking in a way that is clear, and the people can make sense of what you're talking about, it doesn't matter. Don't kill yourself trying to sound like Tony Blair or like Obama or whoever it is. Just speak your language the way you know it. Get the words correctly and move on. But if it distorts, then that's a problem.
Thank you very much. I know we can answer questions on public speaking the whole night. At this point in time, I think it is safer to say we need to go and digest what we have learned and look forward to the next session on this. And okay, all right. So we have really, I think the Q&A has been quite interesting, Martin. Thank you very much. But we have also enjoyed learning more about our voices. And I remember you telling me to do, I need to go back into practicing that.
Yes, it's really very good for a warm-up every morning or keeping yourself from getting angry in congested traffic.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
right.
And those guys you're going to speak and you're nervous, it is very good in calming your nerves as well. Just before you get to the stage, a bit of you're good to go.
Excellent. Tom Mugamba, you've had, as you prepare to speak to your 80 people, that should work out for you. Yes, Tom, I wish you the very best next week, and you will do great for sure, for sure. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us tonight. Please follow us on Instagram. We are called Atara Solutions. We are on Facebook as Atara Solutions as well. This link or the recording will be shared on our YouTube channel, which is Atara's Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And then please join our WhatsApp group to get to know, especially for those who are joining us for the first time and you have not been with us. For you to know what else is coming up, please join our WhatsApp group. Jacinta had shared the link to the WhatsApp so that then you can also keep up with what's coming up next. We do this every day, every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. and we discuss different topics. This will be uploaded on the YouTube. You can go and find out how to start up in public speaking. There's another session that we had done. And you can also look at the content on our YouTube channel. There's so much that is there. So the link has been reshared. It's there on our Get It Right with Atara Solutions WhatsApp group. It has been shared there. And Martin, we cannot thank you enough for this session. Thank you. I know we planned for this for over a year, and I apologize that we kept changing the goalpost, but here you are. I think it's the right time. and you are where you are supposed to be. So, Martin, people are asking for your contacts.
Oh, okay. Well, should I type them in? Or there's some on the presentation, but I can. Sorry?
Type it in. Type it on the chat so that they can copy and paste.
Yes, I'll type them on the chat right away. That's a telephone and 07, and others also on the. Sorry, I have to squint. And then Martin.
Jacinta, which WhatsApp group have you shared? Somebody is saying the link is not going through. I hope it's Get It Right 2.0.
Okay, so I put my number there, and I can check our website as well. Votes. Let's see.
Yeah. The link is working.
Okay, great.
Martin has put his details there, so you can actually take that and you can consult him separately. Jennifer, maybe you can also share your number because the link is actually working. I don't know why yours is not working. All right, so Martin, your parting shot as we end this.
So I think for me, thank you very much, Grace, for this. It's I saw recently it was your birthday 2 days ago. Was
No,
it?
it wasn't. It was my son's. My birthday is in October.
Oh, I thought, oh, no wonder, but it sounded like it was yours because yes, okay, October is good. So my wishes to your son. I think it's really, thank you for this. And I wish people would take their voices more seriously. And I know the aspect of public speaking has been stressed, but I believe that before you go to speak, you must prepare your voice before anything else, because there can be no public speaking without a voice. And I've met many people who are very good at researching their topic, preparing their topic very well. They know the material, but the delivery becomes a problem. And I want you to think of this analogy that you have prepared a beautiful meal and you serve it on a dirty plate. No one will appreciate that meal. So you could have the greatest ideas, the greatest messages, but if your voice sounds shabby, no one will take your message seriously, because the voice then becomes that plate that serves your ideas. That's where I'll leave it.
All right. Thank you very much, Martin, for that. Somebody saying they can't see your contacts. Cicely, I will send it to you. At least I know how to reach you. I can share with you Martin's number. Martin's number is, where have I seen it? Oh, I know what you've done, Martin. You've shared to hosts and panelists, not to, yeah.
Oh, so, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, Martin's number is 0715
944.
Yes.
Oh, this was hosts and panelists. Sorry.
Yeah.
To everyone. Okay. 0715 944 598. Martin. Let's see.
There you go from Martin at vodes.co.ke or 0715 944 598. It's there, and I've seen Hezron has also retyped it. So you can reach out to Martin and get some guidance. How do you remain connected? We have shared. Should shout out to my mwalimu, Dr. John Ayodele, your students. There's somebody said they logged in from Netherlands, so.
Oh, Dr. John Ayodele is my colleague. Yeah, from. Oh, very good. Yeah. Thank you for logging in. And I think I have my students there from the Netherlands. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So right. Yes. Wow, it's 9:35. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. We were with you in high school, Merika Gumo. Oh yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, nice to see you here, Mary. And thank you guys for joining us. Like we said, we are called Atara Solutions. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we have a WhatsApp group, and we are also on YouTube. On YouTube, we are Get It Right with Atara Solutions. See you next Tuesday, same time, same place. We will be discussing how to get to settle for an insurance, or how do you choose your insurance agency? Because we all need insurance. I mean, whether you're deciding for your institutions or for yourself, how do you decide which insurance to choose for your car, for your staff members, or for whatever it is, the business you're running, and for your homes as well? That is the conversation we'll be having next week on Tuesday. So keep it here, and we are honored to have you tonight. And I hope that you will deliver better speeches, and that you will use your voice to change the world, and to also change yourself, or for impact especially. So Catherine Sidandi, our sign language interpreter, thank you very much for being with us. Martin, asante sana. And to you, our audience, thank you for making the time to be here. And I hope that you can polish up your public speaking skills, especially your voice, and get a hold of Martin. He will teach you how to use your voice, how to breathe, and how to do the simple things that make your voice better. So yes, Brian, it's really nice to see you. Thank you very much. And Brian, I hope you can train next time. I am looking forward to your speaking as well. So thank you very much, guys, and have yourselves a lovely, lovely night. See you next Tuesday as we look at a different topic all together. Thank you very much. Good night.
Okay. Oh.
Tell me, when will you be mine? Tell me quando we can share a love divine. Please don't make me wait again. When will you say yes to me?